Welcome back to Taco Bowler Gaming. My name is Taco Bowler. We're continuing to march toward the war. In Grand Tactician Civil War, our first Let's Try of the Union. I've played a couple of test games on the side, but that's pretty much it. So we do have some other map information stuff. You can see the commands, the movement arrows, the telegraph lines, the supply lines, military icons, which it uses the NATO symbols. The map icons for buildings and infrastructure and things like that, which is important. Battle monuments, some people have turned those off. I'm going to try to keep them on. They can get in the way a little bit. The map text, so you can see the state names. I like that off, but I'll leave it on for those that need it at the moment. And then the map borders, which I definitely want to keep on, because that would be an interesting map there with kind of nothing displayed. But that's there. So yeah, they've done Diplomacy 1, which does mean that we're going to have a fair amount of potential... Ooh, I have a project I could do. Fair amount of potential intervention from the Europeans to begin with. So now I got to find the project, whatever the project I could do is, and figure out if I want to spend that subsidy for that amount there, or if I want something else. So it would be Hall's Carbines. So please tell me what it actually does. Well, it's just whether I want to buy that weapon. I guess that would be in military funding, weapons. Just not something that's on the list. Okay. So I guess you just have to know that's something you would like. What kind of subsidy is this? It is politics. I feel like I want to use politics on elsewhere. Things like administration reform. And other, things like that. I feel less civil orders. That's military. Okay. Is this subsidy? This is politics. Okay. So I think I'm not gonna do that one. But just kind of have to keep watching it. Yeah, the economy reports. Current economic cycle expansion. They kind of they kind of tell me that unknown yet what triggers all of that stuff. You know what? I'm gonna get this. No. We're gonna keep going. Going a little bit longer on that. So some of the other things you can do over here is map filters. There's a ton of map filters down here. Things like supply in situations there. So now the situation at Fort Sumter is really becoming critical. The one that I always like to do is front lines, because this kind of tells me where the armies have control, what cities I have control of, and things like that. As right now, obviously, the Confederacy only has control of their area, we have control of our area, but you'll notice that some of this area is not controlled by anyone until you get out there. Portions of Iowa and stuff, even portions of Missouri there in the middle. And then when you just click off of it, it kind of goes away. But that's there. So I could theoretically be recruiting into the garrisons, but right now I just don't have that much manpower in reserve. Alright, so I can get administration reform. What does that do? Do you want to tell me that, game? I don't know what it does, but we're going to do that. Administration reform 1, policy activation time plus 5%. Does that mean it's going to take longer or shorter? Looks like shorter, because it's now 28 days, it looks like, for the thing. That's nice. The credit rating has gone down, and we're not even here yet, which is a problem, I think. Alright, so Beauregard has issued an ultimatum, and Major Anderson has refused to surrender, and Fort Johnston opens fire. Fort Sumter has been bombarded. The war has begun. Let's see if anything changes on that front. Fort Sumter surrendered. 3,000 Confederate rounds have been fired. No casualties from the bombardment. President Lincoln to call militia. The Civil War has commenced. There we go. Alright, and just as I had hoped, Missouri and Kentucky stayed. So that is exactly what I had hoped would happen. Now we already have a Confederate invasion. Yeah, the Missouri State Guard. So supposedly this is actually pretty accurate to what happened in real life. Is that the Missouri State Guard was formed by the governor, but the state overwhelmingly supported the Union. But see, this is going to be important because I'm going to be able to get more troops into the armies that way. So you have the Army of Northeastern Virginia under the command of Major General Urban McDowell. I'm going to try and fix some of these commanders and things and change them up a little bit as we go. But he has 8,861 men and 15 guns. We have the Department of Pennsylvania, which is currently in Maryland, with 5,082 men and no guns, no artillery. Department of the Ohio, under McClellan. That's just like guarding the Ohio River, etc. And he has 2,071 men. And I'm going to have him move to guard someplace, maybe Louisville. We shall see. Yeah, I think I want to move you down to Louisville. Well, no. Yeah, pause that. So you saw how he started to move there late. But it's there. I don't want to move into Kentucky just in case that causes problems, because historically that would have caused some major problems. And then again, the Department of the West over here with 1,572 men. So my intention is to slowly bring these units up by recruitment. How do you recruit? Let's go over here. Well, we see strategy here. For some reason, the Union morale is low. I think it's a couple of the policies that they took. West Virginia joined Union. We just have to, I guess, take it. Now you can see over here the objectives list is a lot further here. We can break Confederate morale. Obviously, that's the main objective. That would win the war. But capture Richmond, Virginia, taking the capital, would lower their national morale by 20, so that's a big thing. One objective is to win a battle in Confederate territory. Capturing any city or winning any battle in Confederate territory will convince the Republic, or convince the public that we can win this war, or that we're, a good leader, and Union morale would cease to decrease, and CSA would cease to increase. So you want to do that relatively quickly. Winning a major battle. I think it tells you, to count as a major battle, each side must commit at least 10,000 troops, and casualties must exceed 2,000 in total. That happened quickly for my last game, at least. Maintain support above 60, so national support's currently at 93, so we're good there for now. Capturing 10 forts would be good. I haven't captured any forts in there. That seems a little bit harder. Capturing Western Virginia. Capture Wheeling, Grafton, and Charleston, Virginia, and defeat any Confederate armies there to control Western Virginia, enabling its loyal citizens to break away from the Confederacy and eventually join the Union as a free state. Confederate national morale would decrease. Confederacy in half. This is actually something that they tried to do. So hold Memphis, Tennessee, Vicksburg, Mississippi, Baton Rouge, and New Orleans, Louisiana before 1864 presidential elections to motivate the Union public. The Union national morale is +5. And then winning 5 consecutive land battles and winning 5 consecutive navy battles are self-explanatory. So we have that here. Can we replace Winfield Scott? I'm not sure that we can. That would be the objectives, right? So it gives you some things to do early on. Maybe sending this army down to try and start taking, Memphis, just running down the Mississippi. This is something that they wanted to do, and they did in 1863. As they took the Mississippi, that would cut the Confederacy in half, and basically left everything out here without supply, without hope. Basically encircling it, to use a Hoyt War term. The rest there, you want to take Grafton, Vicksburg, and Charleston. So I zoom in here. Let's see what they're talking about here. So you'll notice that Charleston here is a 1 next to it. You can see Grafton has a 1, Marietta has a 2, Wheeling has a 5, Pittsburgh has an 8. These are the major cities. But there are also other things. So for instance, we have the smaller city of Lima, a small town. So if you take the major city, that will extend a zone of control out, and these will just automatically switch your way. But the major cities you have to kind of sit on for a little bit to try and take that. And the other armies can come down and fight you. Here we see that this is under blockade, the flying flotilla. I'll address the navies in between episodes there to try and bring them together a bit more cohesively, and try and do better than I did last time. But having that there is there. The last thing to talk about, the readiness of a battalion here, or of an army. So I'll probably rename some things. You can rename. So I'll probably... I don't think you can rename generals. You might be able to. But you can rename battalions. You can rename armies. I will probably rename some armies after some regular commenters, particularly if you comment on these videos. Or, people like Jet Nord, who's controlling who let me into the League of Average Gaming and all that stuff. So probably have things like that. Jet Nord's army of Northeastern Virginia or something. It's just department and army of are just strange to have around. Particularly when the Department of Pennsylvania, if the Department of Pennsylvania is fighting in North Carolina, that's not overly helpful. These armies move around pretty well, but we have facing off against the Army of the Northwest, Shenandoah, the Potomac, things like that. These are the historic names, but I don't like them. But I feel like the Army of Jet Nord or the Army of Taco Bowler would be a little bit too non-descriptive for me to be able to deal with that. So we'll deal with this as we can here. But yeah, they have this readiness thing, and as it is supplied and usually in home territory, but at least supplied. If you're sitting there encamped in enemy territory with supply, readiness will increase, but usually you want to be in home territory. It goes up here. The red, they can do pretty much nothing. And I believe if they were to try and engage in a battle, if the enemy came up and tried to fight you in battle, that you would just retreat. And that's readiness is deficient, I think, there. And then the orange, they can move around in their own territory. If they encounter an enemy army, they will move to kind of siege the army down, but they won't fight, and they can't enter into territory that began in the enemy territory. I assume West Virginia will change to a blue when I take it. The yellow means that they can begin to move into enemy territory, but they'll move slowly. And then the green would mean that they're ready to go. They're going to move into enemy territory. They'll move quickly. I'm told that higher readiness increases the abilities of armies on the battlefield, but I can't confirm that myself. Also, when they get to orange, they can start to construct buildings, and we're gonna build some buildings here. Try and get some supply for us here in this area. But yeah, we'll be dealing with that. As I expect the Confederacy to come in at some point and try to attack, but I'm not overly certain of when. Let's go to the military tab, and we now have 31 here. We have all the forts plus the fielded armies. So let's just look at the fielded armies in all states. Come on, all 4 of them. So you can see the Department of the West has a single brigade. What we want to do is move that brigade to someone who has 2 stars. This is now a division leader. So this is a corps leader, a division leader, and the brigade leader. And I'm going to set these corps up to have 3. So this one has 1,572 men, 5 of which are wounded. It says disabled. They're unable to participate in the battle. They're consistent of volunteers. They have 61% support in Missouri. Their contract is 3 months. Of that, remaining is 2 months. And the recruitment cost would be there. We can change the weapon out, which I'm not going to worry about here. Now, there's 2 ways to add a new unit. We can add a new unit here, and then that will bring up all of the states, and you kind of list them by volunteers. Obviously, Alabama's provided no volunteers for the Union because they're in the Confederacy, but Delaware has 461. Connecticut has 1,119, etc. So Missouri does have 2,221. New Hampshire, 1,000 some odd. New York has 13,000. Ohio is pretty large. Pennsylvania is pretty large, right? Tennessee has actually given us some volunteers. And so you have all of these units here. You can do that and select various things. One of the things to note is that these volunteers will slowly reinforce the brigade from their territory, and there's a background thing that kind of brings the troops in, and so it would help. This army is going to be operating in the west, Mississippi River and west, so it would help to keep the units from the west. And if you have control of that by recruiting here, so you would go over to Missouri, say I want this to be an infantry brigade. You can change the jacket colors to lighter blue out here, etc. And then the recruits needed to start the army. I have been told, and I kind of think I agree, that you just want to have the smallest possible brigade for infantry, because it will then slowly grow as you go. And so now this brigade will form in Missouri and will arrive slowly. In 10 days it should arrive, and then more men will come in. And so you can do another one here. And now you'll notice that Missouri, where's Missouri? It was on there, I saw it briefly. Missouri now has only 721 recruits. So I could recruit from Massachusetts, but that's a long ways away, right? From from the west. So I kind of think that in this particular army, you want things that's relatively west, and that are going to be continuing to supply things. So right now I would be looking at Indiana and Wisconsin. I think I'm going to give Wisconsin this one here. And I think that's going to be it here. Now we're going to recruit a cavalry unit, and we're going to bring that one from Wisconsin. As once again, that's kind of the lowest here is 1250, and we're still going to have that light blue for this army. That does show up, but kind of is what it is. And for now, I'm going to bring one more of those units, but from where is the question? Not overly certain I really have a great place out west, because I want Indiana to be feeding the Department of the Ohio. So I'm going to actually cancel that. Here I'm going to bring in some let's go over here to this unit. There we go. Add unit. And this should be able to come from Missouri. This is going to be a horse artillery battalion. And so that only needs 52 recruits for the smallest, although I'm going to make that the largest it can be, which is 104. All right, so that can recruit a few of these. And we're going to recruit one from each of those states that we just talked about. And what would be here for that? Oh, I can get one of these from Kansas. We'll do that. Alright, so this will be the army there. And they will slowly but surely come. You can see that this one from Missouri is estimated 10 days, 19 days to come out of Wisconsin. 30 days to come out of Wisconsin. 19 days, 41 days, and then 21 days. So you can see how this works there. So the other way to recruit, let's go over to the Department of the Ohio, would be you have 2 divisions. Would be to insert or to go here to the division commander, and then to click on this button here, and you can increase the number of units. 1, we have the size of the unit, 1, 2, or 3, and then auto-generate the unit. And then the game will choose what state that comes from. In this case, it did come from Ohio. And I'm going to actually create one more for the Department of Ohio. And then that did come out of Ohio. And then for cavalry, I want 2. And that comes from Ohio, that comes from Indiana. So they try to get it correct, correct and try and get it to where it makes some sense, but they're not always gonna succeed in that. So it's really up to you how you want to organize things. Can I? So I'm going to actually just go ahead and do this here. Oh, stop. This should relatively safely get me what I need here. So we're going to move these to have them be set up in the correct places. And these will be relatively small armies, all things considered. But we'll make it work. Come on, get over there. Alright, so I'm going to actually recruit a new army. And so you can see we have the volunteers in various places, and this will just kind of create the army where it is, and then you can recruit, you know, from it. I'm going to place the army in New Jersey. It's the Army of New England. And so now we can set up a transfer. And I'm going to actually transfer 1, 2, 3, 4. So I want 1 and 2. I guess I can't do that, so we're going to bring 2 over here. So this is fine, and we're going to come back over here. Yep, there we go. Virginia. And we'll move the artillery over. And so now, you know, obviously the Army of New Jersey here, or the Northeast, should show up somewhere in New Jersey, or New England, I should say. There it is, Army of New England, way over there. And it has 2,372 men, but only 1 is actually present. And since I've removed some strength from Virginia, we're going to bring them down as quickly as we can. They won't gain any readiness while they're moving, but they should gain readiness while they get there. The other thing that you can do is load this up and say, hey, by rail, by sea, by river, however you get here quickly. And so that should adjust things, but don't force march. But yeah, so we can see all of that. So if I issue that order there, they'll move by rail and get down here pretty quickly. And so you can come over here, manage the army, and get that way. I do think that I wish to get all of this recruited. And try to get that all set up there. Now this will require a ton of bonds here early on. I think I want one more thing here. But you can see that this is trying to recruit out of New Jersey, out of, you know, the Northeast, which is what we want. But we're just trying to get up to some fighting strength, and hopefully that will work itself out. So, and we won't have to deal with anything funky. Now I do want to consider attacking this, right? Its strength right now is 600. We have 1,572, so I think that that's actually a good move. We're going to go ahead and issue that order now. It's going to take 5 hours to get there, but we can increase the time. Oh, hang on. We enacted our policy, didn't we? Nope, we have not yet. But it still would be good to get Militia Act 2 going. I think I can wait 5 days. So we're going to move our army up. Department of the West, and they're going to engage with the Missouri State Guard. They should at least engage with the Missouri State Guard. Maybe not. He's at his destination. Okay. That should have started a battle, but maybe because they didn't have good readiness. I don't know. If you want to leave, I won't complain. I can get another project. What project can I get? Corn is king. I want that. Sure. Ah, European relations go up. That's good. I didn't get any notification, which I'm surprised because of the diplomacy that they passed, but no notification of European intervention, particularly the British, so that's interesting. So again, one of the other things you could do would be to recruit that same way that I just saw recruiting there. You could recruit to these garrisons, and then you could transfer out of those garrisons and bring them up to the regular armies when the war broke out. But, you know, whatever you want to do here. I kind of like to see the front lines and kind of see where control of things is and where it exists. Yeah, they're heading down to Kentucky just to make sure that the Army of Tennessee doesn't pull any funny business. But I'm pretty sure that we're safe, that we can just go ahead and do that. Religious unrest in the U.S. continues. Interesting. Factory workers are feuding, animosity between nationalities. Catholics are willing to serve. That wasn't the end of my policy, no. And so you can see that the Army of New Jersey or New England is already down here because it traveled on the rails. This one did not, and so it's waiting a little bit longer. You can see that the Army of New England has arrived with 1 man and 0 guns. That is what it is. I want to rush to Militia Act 2, which will take 20.5 days to complete. It does appear that the act is different than the policies, so... Oh, nope, it's not. Nope. 25 days, so we're going to get that here. What that does is it increases the duration of volunteers from 3 months to 12 months, and so that just keeps them in the Army longer, which is helpful. Now, the credit rating being that low is not great, but we'll deal with that as we deal with that. But so these things will continue to grow in size, and that will be good. Let me see if these armies are ready for construction. Not quite yet. Obviously, the other ones have been moving around, so they're not going to be ready. If I can win quick battles and get some armies into Wheeling and Grayton, while the Ohio is still hanging out in Ohio or in Kentucky, they can slip into Charleston. We can grab West Virginia, which is kind of my goal, and at least in the other campaign, my goal for the beginning of the war, for the first year of the war, for sure. So the Confederacy has passed the industrialization policy as well. I mean, it makes sense. It's a good policy to have. So my guess is that this just wasn't ready for battle. That we have to get them to orange before we could engage in battle. But they are now at full strength. And the more units you get, the more ready for battle they are there. But I think that I'm going to go ahead and end this one here. I hope you've enjoyed this episode so far. And we're going to continue to prepare for war and then begin potentially fighting people and seeing what the Confederacy decides is a good thing to do or not to do. But go ahead and like and comment down below, especially if you would like one of these armies named after you. I'm all for that, and you can have some of that. Otherwise, we'll have the names that are routine commenters and people like that. But I've been talking about gaming. Hope you've enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time.